What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is a video we have not done in quite a while. We're back over to the whiteboard over here. And if you couldn't tell by the title, we are going to be doing a stock analysis video. But more specifically, we're going to be doing a Coinbase stock analysis video. Coinbase is a stock that I've really been doing a deep dive into the past couple of weeks. It's a stock that really interests me. It's a stock that I really have a desire to have a relationship with, let's put it that way. So we're gonna dive into all that, whether I'm buying it, selling it, what I really think about it, the current valuation, all those things. All I ask is that if you guys get any sort of value out of this, make sure to smash the thumbs up, make sure to subscribe if you enjoy these videos so you're around for more content like this. Now, I'm not sure exactly where the stock price is gonna be when you guys are seeing this video, but at the time of me filming this, the stock price is between $220 and $230. I know the market cap right here says it's around 60 billion. That's not right, okay? Sometimes Yahoo Finance does not have the right numbers in there. There's a lag for whatever the case may be. Sometimes that market cap is not right. When I ran the numbers, the market cap came out to a little under 50 billion. I think it actually came out to about 47 billion, which makes it a lot more attractive in my opinion, because when I look at buying a stock, I look at the market cap. I think of it as I'm buying the entire company, okay? That's how Warren Buffett thinks of it. That's how I think of it. So if I can save $10 million on a company, if you're telling me it's a difference between a $50 billion market cap and a $40 billion market cap, that's a very substantial difference, okay? And that makes it a lot more attractive for me. Now, starting off with the most important thing that you're going to look at whenever you think about investing in a stock, when you first start doing research on a company, we're gonna start off with the business model. Essentially, to really summarize this, Coinbase is a brokerage you can buy, sell, store, however you wanna phrase it, cryptocurrency. And 90% of Coinbase's revenue is made up by charging a fee on transactions you make, so when you buy or sell cryptocurrency. But these fees, they're not standard. They're not like how Fidelity or maybe something like Vanguard was back in the day, where it was like $20 per trade, $20 per transaction. It's more so it fluctuates. So the more crypto you buy, the less you pay in fee. The less crypto you buy, the more you pay in fee. Essentially to incentivize buying heavier and heavier. This is a company that's growing rapidly, to say the least. If you look at some of the numbers revolving around this company, they have cash and cash equivalents of 1.9 billion compared to just over $1 billion at the end of 2020. And of course, all these things I'm about to tell you, this is as of their most recent quarter. Customer custodial funds of 6.2 billion compared to 3.7 billion at the end of 2020. Total current assets of 8.6 billion compared to 5.1 billion at the end of last year. Now here's where the really insane growth that I was just talking about really comes into play. Total revenue of 1.8 billion compared to 190 million at the end of 2020. And that's not a typo. Operating income of 987 million compared to 38 million at the end of 2020. Net income of 771 million compared to 31 million quarter over quarter. Now I'm not exactly sure what these percentages are off the top of my head, but I'm sure you can do the math on your own, and I'm sure we can agree that these are some insane growth numbers. And you can argue, I guess, that these growth numbers really are the cause of just the crypto rally we've seen, and we're gonna get into that in a little bit, but let's take a look at the liabilities here while we already have the balance sheet and the cash flow statement up. So they have total liabilities of 7.3 billion. No real debt, it seems like, which is actually really impressive. But of that 7.3 billion in liabilities, 6.2 billion is actually custodial funds due to customers. And I actually find that kind of interesting that that's listed as a liability, but hey, you know what? I don't make the rules here, you know what I mean? Now, going back to the revenue segment, when revenue increases for a company like this, you want to see the amount of users on the platform grow as well. March 2019, Coinbase had 27 million users. March 2020, Coinbase had 34 million users. March 2021, Coinbase had 56 million users. So more people are using this platform not only year over year, but quarter over quarter as well. An additional 13 million people started using Coinbase from December 2020 to March of 2021. That's a 30% increase quarter over quarter. Granted, I know what you're gonna say, the most people ever entered the crypto market in the first quarter of 2021, which is something to take in consideration. It is a risk that we're gonna talk about at the end of this video when we get to the things I like and dislike about this company. But I just wanted to throw that out there right now if anyone's thinking that. They also have several key investments in recent memory, including acquiring Bison Trails in February 2021, which they had already held a minority stake in before. This platform provides more so easy to use crypto infrastructure products and services. They also acquired Tagami in July of 2020. They purchased Skew back in April, which is a leading institutional data visualization and analytics platform for crypto assets. And they also have 50% interest in Centre Consortium. They began this stake back in August of 2019. 14. Other important things to keep in mind here. 40% of people around the world, and yes, Coinbase is a global company for those that did not know that, but 40% of people around the world plan on getting involved in the crypto market within the next year. 67% of millennials report an interest in crypto, which is big. That's very, very big in my personal opinion. Also, Bitcoin makes up 62% of crypto assets on the platform. Ethereum makes up 14%. Other crypto assets make up 21%, and fiat makes up 3%. As for the trading volume, Bitcoin makes up 39%, Ethereum makes up 21%, and other crypto assets make up 40%. Now, you guys might be wondering, what was the point of me bringing that up? What was the relevance of that? Well, you guys know I'm really bullish on Bitcoin and Ethereum. I don't own either one. Could I see myself owning them one day? Yes, I could absolutely see myself owning them one day. But I also think there's room for different crypto assets, or more crypto assets rather, to really grow here. And the fact that more people are owning other cryptos aside from just Bitcoin and Ethereum on Coinbase, that's a very good thing in my book, a very, very good thing for crypto as a whole, for the crypto market moving forward. Now, here's something really interesting I want to go over before I get into what I like about the stock, what I dislike about the stock, how I think about the current valuation, all those different things, some of the risks I see with the company. And keep in mind, there's a lot more I could have put into these videos. These 15 to 20 minute stock analysis videos I make, they're a very, very brief overview because I don't know how many people would just watch me talk about Coinbase stock for, say, an hour and a half. It's not like a podcast so you can just put it on and tone out. It's a video where there's a lot of detail in it. It's something you really have to pay attention to, and I don't think the majority of people are going to watch this for an hour. But anyway, it looks like analysts really don't know how to value this company, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. And I'm gonna show you. Look at analyst estimates for EPS here. Average estimate, $4.90 in 2022. Low estimate, a loss of $5.23. High estimate, $12.10. Revenue, average estimate, $5.6 billion. Low estimate, $3.11 billion. High estimate, $8.35 billion. Now, you can tell by the large gap that's right there in EPS and revenue that analysts don't know exactly where this company is going to go and where this company should be valued. And to tell you the truth, the way I look at this, the valuation on this company really does not make any dang sense one way or the other. I could see a legit argument where someone provides factual evidence and a very, very good case that this company should be valued at $25 billion today, and I can see a very solid argument with concrete factual evidence where this company should be valued at $100 billion today. But why don't analysts know where it's supposed to be valued? Isn't that their job? Shouldn't they be able to decide if it should be valued at 25 billion or 100 billion, or if it's the fair value where it is right now? Why don't they know? And I think the main reason is because analysts aren't too sure about where crypto is going to go. And I watched a video where someone compared Coinbase to Facebook. And if you go back 10 to 15 years ago, social media businesses, they weren't really what they are today. They were a lot smaller. There weren't as many people out there. There weren't as many people making YouTube videos. There weren't as many people having all these big posts on Instagram. And people were really wondering back 10, 15 years ago if Facebook even really had a profitable business model. They were like, can this really work? Like, can they make money? What's an MAU? All those different things. Like, they really did not understand. Wall Street analysts did not understand how Facebook was going to be successful. Now, obviously, fast forward in 2021, that's a laughable statement that really doesn't make sense because Facebook is one of the most profitable companies in the world. I think they have potential to actually be the most profitable company in the world over the long term, but that's a story for a different time. That can be a whole separate video on its own. But what if crypto grows next year? A lot of these analysts, especially those ones that have negative EPS for Coinbase next year or their revenue is declining, what happens if crypto actually grows? Analysts aren't taking that into consideration. They're not even thinking about it. They just think because of this big run up that crypto's had, granted it has come down a lot recently, but they're just thinking that crypto's run so much because even with that crash, that correction, whatever you want to call it, even with that, the thing is crypto's still up a lot. So they just assume it needs to come back down more. What if it continues to grow? What if crypto grows and what if crypto sticks around? Analysts aren't even considering that. And I can tell you one thing, if that actually happens, it's not gonna be a negative thing for Coinbase, it's not. Now that we've kind of gone over the company in a little bit of detail, like I said before, there's definitely a lot more detail I could have gone into that I didn't touch upon, a lot, I promise you that. Let's kind of go over what I like about the company and what I dislike about the company and what I think about the current valuation, and at the end I'll tell you if I'm buying this stock or selling this stock or kind of how I feel about it as a whole. So first off, before we even get into these things, let me just say, when Cathie Wood started buying this stock, she said there was going to be extreme volatility in this stock, and there has been. And Obviously, that comes from Wall Street not really understanding how to value the stock. So if, and this is not financial advice, if you cannot handle volatility, if you're a newer investor, this could very well might not be the stock for you. It might not be, because it's gonna be like bing, bing, bing. It's gonna be, I mean, not as bad as how Tesla was a few years ago, but it can be extremely volatile in my opinion. Anyway, the first reason I really like this stock is because I believe it has a lot of room to run. I watched a very long interview with Brian Armstrong, the CEO, and he really started to put into perspective to me really how much crypto can grow and where it currently is right now. Which, side note, I'm actually a really big fan of Brian Armstrong after doing a good amount of research on him. I really like how Brian Armstrong founded this company. He really saw something that no one else was seeing. He saw something that had a lot of growth potential, and he really has that mentality of he's trying to change the world, which with a company like this, I feel like is just super, super important. But anyway, one of those things that Brian Armstrong talked about in those interviews that I watched is transactions per second. Look at it this way. Bitcoin, for example, can process a maximum of 7 transactions per second. Ethereum can process 30 transactions per second. What do you guys think that compares to companies like Visa, for example? Visa can process 1,700 transactions per second. And seeing this number, seeing how much more Bitcoin, Ethereum have to go to really catch up to companies like Visa, that really started to get me excited, because that just shows me there's so much more room for crypto to go, especially like Bitcoin, Ethereum. It just got me really excited. And obviously this is gonna take time. It's gonna be more of a long-term thing. This isn't gonna be something that happens tomorrow or happens next week or next month, maybe not even next year. It's just gonna take time. People are gonna have to understand crypto more. Crypto's gonna have to be adapted more. Wall Street's gonna have to pick up on it a little bit more. It's just gonna take time, but by gosh, guys, it really does have a lot of growth potential. Potential is the key word. Second, I really like Coinbase as kind of an indirect Bitcoin slash Ethereum slash crypto play. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I don't own any crypto at all, but I do like, as I again also said earlier in the video, I really like Bitcoin, I really like Ethereum, but the whole idea of crypto behind it, I really am just not the biggest fan of for some reason, and I can't really get it inside my circle of competence to the point where I feel super comfortable buying it for whatever the case may be. I just can't get there yet, so I'm taking a disciplined approach and just not buying it yet. But with a company like this, a really strong growth company, which has a lot of assets in crypto, it's pretty attractive to me, so I could see myself buying it as an indirect Bitcoin play. Third, I view this as a very strong next generation stock. Now, what do I mean by that? So let's look at the NFL, for example. You go back 2, 3, 5 years, let's say. You've got Drew Brees, you've got Aaron Rodgers, you've got Tom Brady, like top of the top, okay? But then you go back to this past year, you look in the rearview mirror, and for some you might not even say it's the rearview mirror, but you look behind you and you got Patrick Mahomes, you've got Lamar Jackson, you've got Deshaun Watson, you've got that next tier, those next guys that are really on the come up, those young guys that are really hungry, right behind you, looking to take that torch from you. And it's the same thing with stocks. You might find 5, 6, 7 stocks, depending on how much money you have in your portfolio. You might find a few stocks that you really love for the long term, but eventually those stocks, that bullish thesis you had, that company was undervalued for however long it was, that bullish thesis is eventually going to play out, and that valuation is eventually, if everything goes according to plan and according to your bullish thesis, it's going to even out. And you're going to want to sell those stocks, sell those companies, because you found a better place to put the money and buy new stocks. Or in other words, those guys like Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, they're gonna get a little bit older and they're gonna retire. And when they retire, you wanna find a guy like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen, like you wanna find one of those guys to bring in that are on the come up to replace one of those greats that just retired, or one of your stocks where your bullish thesis already played out. And I feel like we're in a very unique situation with crypto right now. I feel like we kind of are in no man's land, where a lot of retail investors like myself, for example, maybe it's you as well, we're kind of in between. Like we see the potential with crypto, but we don't feel 100% comfortable buying it yet. Or maybe you're a retail investor that's just saying, I see everything with crypto, it's inside my circle of competence, I wanna buy it. But I feel like a lot of institutional investors, they're kind of scratching their heads like, how is this going to play out over the long term? Like, they have no idea, but there's no denying the fact that it does have some potential. And I feel like I'm early enough to the game where it could really make me a lot of money by investing in companies like this. So it really interests me for that reason. Now, obviously there's a lot of other reasons why I like this stock. I could give you probably a list of like 20 different reasons why I like this stock, but I'm just trying to highlight the major ones here. Another one is it trades at a forward P of under 30. It might even be 25. I'm not sure exactly what it is off the top of my head. I'll have it on the screen, but I looked at it right before I started writing the script for this video, and I think it was actually around 26, which is really incredible that it trades that low. But something that no one's talking about with this stock, something that's really going under the radar that I think could definitely be a game changer in this field. What if Coinbase started to allow people to trade stocks on there as well? One of the long interviews I watched with Brian Armstrong, he hinted that this was a possibility. He didn't go too much into detail about it because he didn't want to get in any trouble. He didn't want to reveal these plans too soon, but he did talk about very briefly that it's a possibility. And I think this would be absolutely phenomenal for so many different reasons. I think that allowing both on that platform, I think a lot more people would go to Coinbase that are trading crypto and get involved in stocks. I think a lot of people that are just strictly stock market investors, they would try out Coinbase as a new platform, and then they might be like, what the heck, let me dabble into some crypto, and then they would start buying crypto, and ultimately it would just make everyone a lot more bullish on the crypto market. I could really see that playing out. Is that gonna happen? We're gonna have to wait and see, but I think it's a possibility. Now, let's get into some of the risks I see with this company. And a lot of these risks, they're really not going to be rocket scientists. They're not gonna be things you have to dive super into depth with the company. If you're familiar with Coinbase and the company itself, you probably have these same exact risks in your mind. First, what if crypto goes bye-bye? What if everything I feel about crypto, everywhere I think crypto is going, doesn't pan out? That's the bottom line, it's a risk. What if I am wrong? Second, obviously execution and competition. Coinbase isn't the only platform where you can buy crypto. There's other platforms like Voyager where you can buy crypto. What if the company doesn't execute? What if, say, Voyager just for example surpasses them? It's a risk to take in consideration, like with every stock. Third, very simple, crypto crash. What happens if crypto crashes? Coinbase obviously has a lot of capital in crypto. Is their cash position going to be sizable enough for them to stay relevant and stick around and get through that crypto crash? And I don't mean a crypto crash where something like Bitcoin or Ethereum goes from up 2,000% down to only up 500%. I'm talking about it goes severely negative, you know what I mean? Again, it's just something to take into account that could very well happen over the course of so many years. And the last big risk I'm really starting to take into account here is what if the SEC starts to regulate crypto? So I'm not gonna go too into detail about this because this could be literally 20 minutes, this portion about why I think it's gonna happen, why I think it won't happen, or when I think it's gonna happen, all those different things. But I'm not gonna go into too much detail on it, that's the bottom line. But I think it is gonna happen eventually. I've seen a lot of rumblings of this happening in the nearest future. A lot of big names have been mentioning this, and I'm not talking about Johnny over on Park Street. I'm talking about guys like Elon Musk, like very big names that think that crypto is moving towards to being regulated by the SEC. When I think it's gonna happen, I'm not exactly 100% sure, but don't be surprised if the SEC does regulate crypto over the next few years. Now, the moment of truth, am I buying this stock? And the answer is no. But I'm very close. I'm very interested. And this is probably gonna be a very valuable lesson to a lot of newer investors out there. So I talked about earlier about the Aaron Rodgers, the Tom Brady's, the Drew Breeses, that class. Those are the current stocks I own. I feel like a lot of the stocks I own, my bullish thesis hasn't really played out yet. I feel like I'm kind of just in the waiting room waiting for those stocks to really start to run. So do I really wanna replace one of those all-time greats with a rookie, with a new stock, a new quarterback, when I already have a quarterback in the prime of their career? Do I really want to do that? Do I feel like this quarterback has potential to be better, has more upside than the one I currently have? Or is it just recency bias? All these things you gotta take into consideration before you buy a new stock. And some of you guys out there might be saying, why don't you just go buy another stock? Why don't you just add it to your portfolio? Well, I don't want to be too over diversified. Mark Cuban made a really interesting video once, I watched it on YouTube, about how diversification is for idiots. And basically his whole point was, rather than investing in so many different assets, so many different stocks, just to invest in the ones that you truly understand and the ones you truly feel confident in. And that's going to allow you to say, a lot better returns. So I don't want to become too over diversified. And I talked about this in the video with Nick, or the podcast with Nick rather, which if you haven't seen that, go check it out. Thank you guys for all the support that you've showed me towards that. The second video, the 7th episode, is going to go live on Wednesday with my friend Chris. So make sure to check that out. That's going to be super interesting. We go into a lot of detail about mental health in that one. I think you guys will definitely get a lot of value out of it, especially those people that have started side hustles and maybe are really struggling with that. So make sure to check that out. That'll be on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music. Anyway, back on topic here. In that podcast with Nick, I talked about how some people will have $10,000 in their portfolio and they'll own 40 stocks. And it's just hard for me to rationalize that stock 1 is really, you like that stock as much as stock 40. So I don't want to be too over diversified in that regards. I want to find the best stocks. I want to find the stocks I like the best. And if you're someone that's owning 40 different stocks, I honestly would rather just go buy an index fund and just take the work out of it. And when you get into this mindset, you really get into this field of only investing in the companies you fully understand and investing in the companies that have the most upside. You really start to get in your head that there's only so much money to go around. And all of these stocks, all of these companies are basically fighting for your money. And you need to decide what is the best place for your money. So I really need to sit down and think about, okay, is Coinbase the best place for my money, and do I like Coinbase more than one of these other stocks I own? And it's not that easy. It takes a little bit of time for me to really get to that point where it's like, okay, I like this one better. This one has more upside than this one. It takes a little bit of time. And plus, as I mentioned in that podcast with Nick, I've really put a significant amount of money into the market over the last 8 months or so. I've really been building out a lot of positions, and I have just about everything built out that I want to have built out. But I'm between 15 and 20% cash, I believe. I'm not as low as 15, but I don't think I'm as high as 20. I'd like to get back to around that 20+% mark before I start deploying more money into the market personally. So I have to decide, is it worth me waiting to get back 20+% cash, or is it an opportunity where I just need to dive into right now, a can't miss slam dunk opportunity? But as for price points where it really interests me and where it's a slam dunk and I really want to get into it, right where it is now, I'm at the point where I really, really like it. I don't love it, but I really, really like it. I'm kind of in that, I guess, that fringe area between liking it and loving it. I'm kind of 50-50 on that. When it goes under 200, I love it. That's probably, if it goes under 200, that's where I think the risk reward becomes almost too attractive for me not to start buying it. If it goes under 175, I'm loading the boat, loading it, because that's gonna put this forward PE at around 20. It's gonna put the market cap at around $35 billion. That is too attractive of a risk reward for me to not get involved with it, in my personal opinion. Again, guys, as always, this is not financial advice. Don't just buy this stock or sell this stock, or really any stock, just because I talk about it because I like it. Make sure you're doing your own research, make sure you're developing your own opinions, and don't just listen to a random guy on the internet. Anyway, guys, in saying that, that is going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you got any sort of value out of this, make sure to drop a like, make sure to drop a subscribe down below. Let me know in the comments what you think of Coinbase, if you're buying it, selling it, any bullish thesis you have, any bearish thesis you have, anything about crypto. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video.